We have no planet too. It's only Mother Earth with us, and how we empathize with her, how we put ourselves in her shoes makes all the difference.
This is Bite Size Climate Tech, Season 2. There I have Linet Marimu with me. Linet works as an analytical chemist at Octavia Carbon, the first company in the global south to build and deploy direct air capture machines. And most recently, Linet was also awarded the Rhodes Scholarship to read for Doctor of Philosophy in Chemistry at the University of Oxford, focusing on direct air capture material research. Linet is passionate about using her knowledge and skills to tackle humanity's biggest problem, climate change. So, welcome, Linet. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Lydia. I'm passionate about solving humanity's most profound challenge, which is climate change, and that's why I rise every day to come to Octavia.
So, Lina has been working in Octavia for
almost a year, that's 7 months, 8 months or so. Yeah.
So today, Lina is going to tell me a topic about direct air capture, specifically how the steps are.
So you will want to see direct air capture, the two-phase process. There's the capture phase and then there's the release phase, where you capture the CO2 and then you want to release it either for sequestration or for utilization, because it has an array of applications. So think of it as a sponge. So you have a sponge that you dip in water, and then the sponge absorbs a lot of water. And then for you to release the water and get back your sponge to the initial state, you have to apply force. This is similar to what happens in direct air capture. Mm-hmm. So we have our machines and we have the material in the machine, but then in this case, the CO2 is captured on the surface. Now the material is like our sponge. So instead of the CO2 going right into the bulk of the material as water will do, CO2 is captured on the surface, and that process is called adsorption. And then for you to get back your material to the initial state, for another capture phase, you need to apply force, the same way you will squeeze the sponge to release your water. So in this case, what's the force? The force that we use here are elevated temperatures and partial vacuums. By partial vacuums, you may think of having a carton of biscuit. Part of the carton is covered with biscuits, then the other part has air. So for you to be left with biscuits alone, you remove all the air such that you have now the partial vacuum.
It's really interesting. I never heard of the biscuit metaphor before. Can you go back to that a little bit?
So you have a carton of biscuits. So these biscuits haven't occupied the whole of the space of the carton. So when we are packing our material in the machines, there's a level to which it gets to, right? So the other level, as you know, air will occupy anything, right? But you have something that you've packed solid, then the remaining volume is just air. So that's what happens in a machine. That's what you'd expect in a carton of biscuits. So there's a place where you'll have some biscuits, then the rest of the place, there are no biscuits at all. When you have the material in the machine, you have a portion that has the material and then the other portion is air. So you want to remove that air, and where there is no air, we call it a vacuum. So those are the partial vacuums. It's not a vacuum entirely because the remaining part is the chemical filter. So it's a partial vacuum because you've removed the air and you're now remaining with the material.
Okay, gotcha. So it's not a full vacuum, the entire space. You just have a little bit that's called partial vacuum.
How would you explain this to an 8-year-old?
In the sense that if somebody like an 8-year-old, they would want to understand or easier for them to associate. Maybe, you know that cartoon, Sponge Baby? The yellow sponge.
Oh, SpongeBob. Oh, yes. Beautiful.
You are a very good friend with SpongeBob. Because you work with him every day. And then he has this power to clean up the air.
So if I'm going to tell an 8-year-old about what I do, I'll tell them that I want to clean air. So every day I work with my very good friend. His name is SpongeBob SquarePants. And SpongeBob has the ability to clean air. So what I do to SpongeBob, I leave him at a point where air is coming in, and then he takes in whatever I want him to clean the air from. So once he takes in that, I actually need to apply something to make sure that with time he doesn't get really fatigued. And so what I do as he takes in the air, I use some little force here and there and tickle him up. I use temperatures. So SpongeBob releases whatever he had captured because he had
Yes.
taken it because I need to use it somewhere else and he's fresh again. So I take him back to this capturing chamber, to this taking up chamber. So he cleans the air again in that chamber. I tickle him again with some temperatures and he gets to
Yes.
release.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's
the
for 8-year-olds.
continuous.
I think they will be
Yeah.
very happy about this. So now is the part that you answer a question from the previous guest.
How can we improve the way in which we emotionally respond or have a view? The role of art and literature and culture in communicating with us and that connect emotionally with those subjects. To how can we use them to strengthen our connection to not just the climate crisis, but also with reaching net zero and beyond?
Okay.
I think art can speak a lot, and by the virtue that we're having such conversation, it's creating some emotional attachment. And I get in a space where I know I have someone else who is also working on that thing, and it really forges some bonds of mutual understanding. For scientists like us, we may be looking at technical things, but then how do we make sure that the next person who is oriented in a cultural way gets to understand this? And by knowing that we have no planet two, it's only Mother Earth with us, and how we empathize with her, how we put ourselves in her shoes makes all the difference. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's so beautifully said, Lina. Thank you so much.
The next question that I'll leave to the next guest is, if they were made the king, queen of the world, what are 3 laws they would enact relative to making sure that we mitigate climate change and why?
Oh, wow. Such a good question. Thank you so much, Linet. Thank you
You're
so much for coming to the show. I really, really enjoy it.
Expressed by our guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official position of Bite-Size Climate Tech. We thank our guests for sharing their insights and experiences, and we thank you, our listeners, for joining us on this journey. Until next time.